8-year-old Elizabeth Bennet followed her elder sister Jane, sneaking as they made their way into the stables.
"Jane,"
she hissed,
"Papa will not be happy if he finds us here. The stables are always off-limits, especially when a mare is foaling."
"All will be well," 10-year-old Jane replied.
"Besides, Papa never gets angry with you when you sneak into the stables." "Papa warned me just this morning not to go to the stables today because a mare is foaling. Jane, you heard him. We must not go in. He will be very angry if we disobey him,"
Elizabeth replied.
"Lizzie, I have followed you without question on any number of adventures. This time it is you who must follow me. Now come,"
she demanded. Praying they would not be discovered, Elizabeth reluctantly went with her sister into the stables. Nearly all the stable hands were standing outside the stall containing the expecting mare, their attention fully absorbed by the imminent birth. This distraction allowed the sisters to slip inside unnoticed. The stables were faintly lit, the doors flung wide to let in air and light, and a few lanterns were lit at strategic locations to provide enough light so that those who needed to see could. The scent of hay and horses lingered heavily in the air. Jane moved with a determined excitement, her eyes wide with anticipation. Elizabeth, on the other hand, felt a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. She glanced around nervously, half expecting to hear the stern voice of their father, or the disapproving tone of their mother. Jane pressed forward, reaching the stall where the mare stood. The mare's sides heaved with each laboured breath, and the stable hands whispered among themselves, offering gentle words of encouragement to the animal.
"Look at her, Lizzie,"
Jane whispered. Elizabeth nodded, her eyes darting between the mare and the stable entrance. The thought of getting caught weighed heavily on her. She replied quietly,
"We should not be here, Jane, if Papa finds out." "He will not,"
Jane interrupted, her tone resolute.
"We will just watch for a little while. Please, Lizzie."
Elizabeth sighed, her resistance weakening. She could not deny Jane this small joy, especially when her sister's enthusiasm was so palpable.
"Just for a few minutes,"
she conceded. As the sisters watched, the stable hand's murmurs grew more excited. The mare was getting closer to delivering her foal, and the anticipation in the air was almost tangible. Elizabeth found herself momentarily forgetting her worries, caught up in the miracle of new life unfolding before her. The mare gave a final push, and the soft sound of a newborn foal hitting the straw-covered floor filled the stable. Jane clasped Elizabeth's hand in her own, her eyes shining with wonder at what she saw. Although they had known it was a messy business before, they were amazed by how easily the mare seemed to bear it, and how naturally it all happened. For the most part, the men just stood back and watched, only ready to assist if necessary. They had not been necessary in this birth. Suddenly, the girls were startled by an unexpected noise. Inadvertently, they had backed up and now stood directly in front of the stall that housed their father's stallion. The horse did not tolerate anyone except their father and one groom, and it did not like when anyone else approached. Elizabeth heard the noise and tried to pull Jane away from the door, but somehow, when the horse kicked, the door flew open, knocking Jane down. Elizabeth scrambled toward her, trying to pull Jane away from the horse, but someone grabbed her by the waist, picked her up, and pulled her away from the stallion. The horse bolted toward the group of men, causing them to scramble, and bolted toward the open stable doors.